Hello and welcome to our channel. We are so happy to have you here with us. If you're looking to improve your English speaking skills and gain more confidence, you've come to the right place. Whether you're just starting out or already at an intermediate level, we're here to guide you with practical tips, fun lessons, and real-life examples to help you speak English like a pro.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's podcast. We are so happy to have you here with us. Whether you're at home, on the bus, or taking a little break at work, thank you for tuning in. We are truly excited to help you with your English journey today. My name is Agnes, and I'm here with my wonderful co-host, Jasper.
Hey there, I'm Jasper. It's fantastic to have you with us today. We're going to dive into something really special that could make a huge difference in your English learning journey.
Absolutely. And today's topic is something that can really open the door to fluency. We're going to talk about how improving your speaking and listening grammar skills is the key to becoming fluent in English.
That's right, Agnes. I know this might sound like a big challenge, but don't worry. We're going to break it down for you. We're going to show you how important your speaking and listening skills really are, and how focusing on grammar in these areas can help you speak and understand English much better.
I'm so excited for this because, honestly, mastering your speaking and listening grammar skills is one of the best ways to sound more natural in English. So many learners struggle with fluency, and it's often because they're not paying enough attention to how grammar works when speaking and listening. But here's the thing, you don't need to worry about perfect grammar to speak fluently. It's all about practicing the right way.
Exactly, the truth is, when you improve your grammar in speaking and listening, you will not only sound more confident but also be able to understand others more easily. And that's one of the biggest parts of communication, being able to follow along in a conversation.
For sure. And the amazing thing is that with just a little bit of focus on grammar in speaking and listening, you can quickly notice how your ability to communicate improves. You'll start to catch more of what people are saying, and you'll feel more comfortable speaking without hesitating.
I love how you mentioned that, Agnes. It's all about confidence. And when you start feeling confident, you'll want to keep improving. Trust me, focusing on these skills makes a huge difference in the long run.
So, let's break this down for our listeners. We'll talk about why grammar in speaking and listening is so important and how it can actually help you sound more fluent. Whether you're at an elementary or intermediate level, it's a powerful step to take on your language learning journey.
Right, so why is speaking and listening grammar so crucial? Well, when you're speaking, correct grammar helps you put your thoughts together clearly. For example, if you're talking about something that happened in the past, you need to use the past tense, right? If you use the wrong tense, it can confuse the person listening to you. It can be like trying to understand a puzzle with a missing piece.
Exactly. And listening is just as important. When you listen to native speakers or other learners, you'll hear grammar patterns and sentence structures that you need to recognize. If you don't know the grammar rules, you might miss out on important details. And it's frustrating when you don't catch what's being said, right? But with the right listening practice, you'll start picking up on those little grammar cues.
Right, and it's not just about understanding the grammar rules, it's about hearing them in real-life conversations. The more you hear those grammar structures in context, the easier it becomes to use them yourself. It's like learning to ride a bike. You get better with practice.
I love that. It's the same idea. You won't master grammar overnight, but the more you practice speaking and listening, the more it will start to feel natural. And guess what? The better you get at speaking and listening, the easier it will be to write and read as well.
That's the beauty of it. Everything works together. And for those of you who are learning English right now, don't worry if you make mistakes. It's part of the process. What matters is that you keep practicing, and you'll get better every day.
Exactly. And that's why we're here today. We want to remind you that improving your speaking and listening skills is the key to fluency. Focus on grammar, but don't stress about being perfect. Practice with patience and trust that it will pay off.
And for those of you who are watching right now, we want to say thank you. Thank you for being part of this podcast and investing your time in improving your English. We're here to help you every step of the way, so keep going, stay motivated, and don't give up.
That's right. We're in this together, and we're so proud of your progress. So, let's dive into the next part of our conversation. Stick with us as we talk more about how you can improve your speaking and listening grammar skills. You've got this, and we're here to help every step of the way.
And for those of you who are watching right now, we want to say thank you. Thank you for being part of this podcast and investing your time in improving your English. We're here to help you every step of the way, so keep going, stay motivated, and don't give up.
That's right. We're in this together, and we're so proud of your progress. So, let's dive into the next part of our conversation. Stick with us as we talk more about how you can improve your speaking and listening grammar skills. You've got this, and we're here to help every step of the way.
So, Agnes, we've already discussed the importance of speaking and listening grammar, and how improving these skills can help you understand and communicate better. But now, let's talk about how to actually do it. How can learners like you start improving their speaking and listening grammar? And what are some practical ways to get better at it?
Great question, Jasper. One of the best ways to improve speaking and listening grammar is by immersing yourself in the language. This means listening to English in many different ways. Watch TV shows, listen to podcasts like this one, and pay attention to how native speakers use grammar. But here's the trick: don't just listen to the words. Focus on the structure of the sentences and how they're put together.
That's such an important tip, Agnes. It's not just about listening to the vocabulary, but paying attention to how the words connect. For example, if someone says, "I've been learning English for 2 years," notice how the verb have is used with been to show an action that started in the past and continues until now. This is a common structure called the present perfect continuous. The more you listen for these types of structures, the more natural it will feel when it's your turn to speak.
Exactly. And while you're listening, try to repeat what you hear. This is a great technique called shadowing. You can pick a short audio clip or even a simple sentence and repeat it exactly how you hear it, focusing on the pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm. This will help you understand how to use grammar naturally when you speak. For example, if you listen to a sentence like, "She's been waiting for an hour," repeat it out loud. As you do that, try to notice how the words are connected and how the sentence flows.
That's such a great point, Agnes. Shadowing helps not only with grammar but also with pronunciation. The more you practice, the more confident you'll feel. And don't worry if you don't get it right immediately. It's all about practicing over and over again. One important thing to remember is that, when you're speaking, it's easy to make mistakes, and that's okay. Making mistakes is part of learning, and the key is to keep going.
Exactly, Jasper. Mistakes are a natural part of the process, and they help you learn faster. But another really important thing to focus on is active listening. This means that when you listen to English, you need to pay attention not just to what is being said, but how it's being said. For example, notice if there's a shift in the speaker's tone of voice or if they pause in a certain way. These clues can tell you a lot about the grammar they're using. For instance, when someone says, "I haven't finished yet," notice how the negative contraction of have is used with finished and how the sentence sounds different from just saying, "I don't finish yet."
Yes, listening for these tiny differences can make such a big impact. Another great way to improve is by having regular conversations in English. This is where speaking practice comes in. Try to speak with someone who is at your level or a bit higher. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. The more you practice speaking, the more your grammar will improve naturally. You can also practice speaking by recording yourself, listen to your recordings, and try to notice where your grammar might need a little adjustment.
That's such a fantastic tip, Jasper. Recording yourself is one of my favorite methods. It allows you to hear things you might not have noticed while you're speaking. For example, you might realize that you're using the wrong tense, or you may find that you're hesitating too much when trying to form sentences. The beauty of recording yourself is that it gives you the chance to improve by listening to your own voice and reflecting on where you can get better.
Right, and here's the thing. When you listen to yourself, try to focus on small details. Are you using the right verb forms? Are you asking questions correctly, like using the right word order? It might feel awkward at first, but this kind of self-feedback can lead to huge improvements over time. It's like being your own teacher.
Exactly. And when you practice speaking regularly, don't forget to also listen carefully to others around you. This could be in your daily life, or you could find online groups or language exchange partners where you can practice English conversations. The more you're surrounded by the language, the more you'll notice how others use grammar in everyday conversations. And, like I mentioned before, hearing grammar in context is one of the best ways to improve.
That's a great point, Agnes. One thing I always recommend to learners is to take it slow. Don't rush your speaking practice, and don't try to use complex grammar before you're comfortable with the basics. Start by using simple sentences and focus on getting them right. For example, you can practice saying something like, I like coffee, I don't like tea, or I am learning English. These may sound simple, but they're the foundation for building more complex sentences as you go.
Absolutely. Building up step by step is the key. And here's something else I want to mention. When you're practicing listening and speaking, try to connect grammar with real-life situations. If you're practicing talking about past events, imagine that you're telling a story to a friend. If you're practicing asking questions, think about how you would ask for directions or how you'd order food at a restaurant. When you practice in real-life scenarios, it feels more natural when you actually need to use those skills in a conversation.
Yes, and another important thing is to practice using phrases and expressions that are commonly used in everyday conversations. For example, instead of just saying I am happy, you could say I'm feeling really good today or I'm so excited about this. These expressions are more natural, and learning them will help you sound more fluent.
Great tip, Jasper. Using natural phrases makes you sound more like a native speaker and helps with the flow of conversation. And remember, practice, practice, practice. Whether it's listening to podcasts, speaking with friends, or even practicing alone in front of a mirror, every little bit of practice counts.
Exactly, and the more you practice, the more your confidence will grow. And once you start noticing improvement, it will motivate you to keep going. So, no matter what level you're at right now, just keep pushing yourself. Little by little, your speaking and listening skills will get stronger, and you'll be one step closer to fluency.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this amazing podcast where we learn, improve, and grow together. We are so happy to have you here with us today. Whether you're at home, walking in the park, or just relaxing with a cup of tea, we hope this podcast brings you knowledge, motivation, and a little bit of fun.
That's right, learning English can be a wonderful journey, and we are here to make it easier and more enjoyable for you. My name is Jasper.
And I'm Agnes. Together, we'll explore interesting topics, share useful tips, and help you improve your English step by step. So, let's get started.
Agnes, before we jump in, I have a question for you. What are we going to talk about today?
Oh, I'm so excited about today's topic. It's something very special. Something that is the key to success in learning English. Today, we are going to talk about how to improve your speaking and listening skills and why grammar is the only key to getting fluent in English.
Wow, that sounds really important. Speaking and listening are the most important parts of communication and grammar. Well, some people say you don't need grammar, but I believe grammar is the foundation of everything.
Wow, that sounds really important. Speaking and listening are the most important parts of communication, and grammar? Well, Some people say you don't need grammar, but I believe grammar is the foundation of everything.
Wow, that sounds really important. Speaking and listening are the most important parts of communication and grammar. Well, some people say you don't need grammar, but I believe grammar is the foundation of everything.
Exactly, Jasper. Think about it when we learn our first language, we listen first, then we try to speak. But if we don't have good grammar, we can make mistakes that might change the meaning of what we say. That's why today's topic is so important.
Yes, many English learners struggle with speaking because they feel shy, nervous, or afraid of making mistakes. But do you know what? Mistakes are part of learning. The more you practice, the better you get.
Absolutely. But here's something even more interesting. Grammar is like a map. If you don't have a map, you can get lost. If you don't know grammar, your sentences might not make sense. That's why we need to learn grammar the right way.
And let's not forget listening. Many learners think they can't speak well because they don't know enough words. But actually, if you listen more, you will naturally start to speak better. Listening is the first step to fluency.
That's right. Think about babies. They listen for a long time before they start talking. The more they hear, the more they understand. And when they start speaking, they use the grammar they've heard many times before. So, if you want to improve your English, you must listen a lot.
Yes, and listening doesn't just mean hearing words. It means understanding the meaning, the pronunciation, and even the emotion behind the words. If you listen carefully, you will know how to use words correctly.
Exactly. And this is why today's topic is so important. If you want to speak English fluently, you need to focus on listening, speaking, and grammar all three together.
That's why we are here today to help you understand the best way to improve these skills. And don't worry, we will keep everything simple and fun.
Yes. And before we continue, we want to say a big thank you to everyone listening to this podcast. We really appreciate you, and we hope you enjoy learning with us.
Thank you so much. Now, let's dive deeper into today's topic.
Yes. So, let's talk about how listening helps you with grammar. When you listen to native speakers, you hear the correct way to form sentences. You hear how they use different tenses, prepositions, and sentence structures naturally. And over time, your brain starts to recognize these patterns. This makes it much easier for you to use correct grammar when you speak.
That's a great point, Agnes. It's like learning a new song. At first, you might not remember the lyrics, but when you listen to the song again and again, suddenly, you can sing along. The same thing happens with language. The more you listen, the more you absorb grammar naturally.
Exactly. And one of the best ways to improve listening is by watching movies, listening to podcasts, and talking to native speakers. But here's the important part. Don't just listen passively, listen actively. That means paying attention to how words are used, noticing sentence structures, and even repeating what you hear.
That's a great tip. I always tell learners to shadow native speakers. Shadowing means listening to a sentence and then repeating it right away, trying to copy the pronunciation and rhythm. This helps with both listening and speaking.
Yes. And another great technique is to slow down and break sentences apart. If a sentence feels too fast, pause it, repeat it, and then play it again. The goal is to train your ears to understand English better.
Right. And let's not forget about accents. Some learners struggle because they are not used to different English accents. So, listening to different people, British, American, Australian speakers can help a lot.
Yes, the more variety you hear, the more confident you become. And confidence is key when it comes to speaking. If you listen a lot, you will start to recognize grammar patterns and then use them naturally in your own speech.
Absolutely. And this brings us to another important question. How can we practice speaking in a way that helps us improve quickly?
That is such an important question, Jasper. One of the best ways to practice speaking is by thinking in English. Instead of translating from your native language, try to form sentences directly in English. This helps your brain get used to the language faster.
That's a fantastic tip. When you think in English, you don't have to pause to translate words in your head. This makes your speech much smoother and more natural.